Hello, everyone. My name is Michaela Smith. I'm the communication director at One World Rowing, and today I am here with Katy, who is a PhD candidate in the engineering school for UVA, as well as an HP rower. So my first question for you is your current rowing affiliations and your home boathouse.
Yeah, so currently, I guess I'm affiliated with a few programs. I row out of the UVA boathouse, kind of with the Virginia Rowing Association, as well as the UVA women's team program. I'm also working with the Orion HP program up in Saratoga. They're sort of my remote team at the moment.
Okay. So I kind of already said this in the introduction, but your graduate degree program.
Yeah, so I'm studying electrical engineering. I'm currently a PhD candidate. I do work in ultra low power circuit design for sustainable electronics.
Okay. Where did you first row in college?
I started rowing in college at Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute up in near Albany, New York. That was my first exposure to rowing.
Was it a club program or?
Yeah. So that program was club, super recreational, not very competitive, but, just a fun environment.
Really. Okay. So when did you first start your rowing journey?
Yeah. So the summer after my sophomore year of college, I was fortunate to be working an internship in Detroit. And I actually, had some exposure to the club there. And I ended up, joining up to just have something to do while I was working. And I met some other people there that summer while I was training. And I actually was able to go race at Canadian Henley with another girl who was a D1 rower at the time. And so that's kind of how I got exposed to more than just club rowing.
Yeah, that's cool. So when did you start working with the Orion high performance team?
Yeah, so the following fall, when I started my junior year, I had actually at Canadian Henley that summer found out, what Orion was just by racing the girls and Googling it. And so I ended up reaching out to the coach, Eric, and, he was very welcoming. I let him know that I was interested in pursuing rowing at a higher level. And he, basically said, hey, come to practice. We'll see, if it's a good fit or not. And, I ended up training with them for the following 2 years while I was an undergrad.
Okay, cool. What boat categories did you race in?
So primarily the single, while I was doing my undergrad, those two final years, just because, I was the only collegiate rower really around. And then, moving forward, I've been in, doubles, quads, eights, for the most part, but a lot of training in the single.
Is the single your favorite?
I think for the majority of training, I really enjoy the single. As far as racing goes, quads and eights, you really can't beat that experience.
So I heard that you were in a U23 selection camp. Describe the process of getting into that.
Yeah, so
tell me about it.
The first year I was with Orion, some of the older girls kind of encouraged me to apply, just, to have the opportunity to row with some other people my age. For the summer after my junior year, I got invited to my first camp. Unfortunately, I didn't make the team, but that was definitely a good learning experience for me. It was the first time, I was seat racing. It was the first time I was really exposed to the people my age in university doing what I wanted to be doing. And then the following summer after I had graduated, I went back to selection camp and I was actually able to make the quad that summer.
Okay.
Yeah.
So going back to UVA, since we're in Charlottesville, what were the deciding factors for you to go to UVA grad school?
Yeah, so grad school was always, something that I wanted to pursue. So when I found out, I had the opportunity to row at a Division I program also, I was really trying to balance, the team and the rowing part of it, as well as schools that had really great programs. I was really interested in, what could be offered academically. And I was fortunate at UVA to have received a research fellowship in work that I was interested in. And that really, sealed the ticket, along with obviously it being a good rowing program, but definitely was focused a little more on the academics at the time.
Yeah, I'm sure. All right. Describe your working arrangement with Orion.
Yeah, so I'm very fortunate to have formed a good relationship with the coaches and the athletes at Orion while I was doing my undergrad. So I think that's maybe a bit of a unique situation because I was in the area, but I would encourage anyone that's in a situation where they're kind of doing a creative training, working, or training in school situation to just, reach out to coaches, reach out to people that and ask. I started working with Orion when I was an undergrad, like simply because I found out that they were located close, and I shot Kat an email and he was like, cool, show up to practice. And, moving from that, I think that when you're in grad school, you have to be willing to come up with solutions for yourself. People want to help, but you have to present them with what would work for you and how you want to go about things. So now I'm fortunate that over the past few years, I've stayed in touch with Orion, and I kind of have my finger on the pulse, and I know like, oh, they're going on a training trip this week. So if I reach out and I say, hey, like, can I join this? They're a little more receptive to that because I've been paying attention, but also, you have to provide solutions. You have to say things like, oh, like I could find my own host family, or I'll get myself in my boat down there. If you're proactive, that's definitely going to be, more helpful as you try to do something that's a little bit unorthodox.
Okay. How do you make sure that you still feel a part of the team being remote?
That's a really great question. And that's something that I certainly have struggled with, especially in rowing a lot, and rowing the single, you can really get into the monotony of it and get very down in your own just loneliness, really. I would encourage anyone that's in that situation, people have their teams and they're not necessarily going to remember, oh, like every day, like, hey, let's check in and see how Katy's doing. So something you can do is sort of on the flip side, like you want to reach out to other people and ask how they're doing, because even if it's a little less genuine, typically when you ask someone how they're doing, they're going to ask you back. So or at least creating this like support system, but it really has to start from you. No one's going to do this for you.
So how often are you able to join the team in Saratoga or on training trips at regattas?
Yeah, with school, it's definitely something that isn't regular, and you have to be creative about it. This past summer, I was very fortunate. I was able to work remote for 3 weeks at a time, and I was able to travel up to Saratoga to train with the team. And then moving forward from that, I went to summer nationals with them, and then I returned to Charlottesville to do some in-lab work that I needed to do, and then I was able to join them up in St. Catharines for Canadian Henley. I typically, as a grad student, my work isn't necessarily on the semester schedule like you might expect with school, but if you are, definitely you would want to take advantage of your breaks to get somewhere to train with people. I tried, this past year I was more successful in trying to like meet up with a team kind of at least once a quarter, just to, you get some coaching, and then you can go work on that stuff for months and months, but it's easier to kind of have a reset every couple months. So.
How essential to the arrangement is having known Orion for so long?
I think that in my situation, it's been very helpful. I don't think that it's necessarily like something that you have to have had prior to your situation. I think that, and I recently had this experience working with GRP when they were in Charlottesville, coaches, they want to help people, and they want people who are willing to work hard. And you just have to be willing to kind of go out on a limb to make those connections. I'm fortunate because, I can call Saratoga my home. And it's something that has meant a lot to me. But, I think in any situation, you kind of tell a coach your situation and what you're working towards. And generally speaking, they're going to want to help you. Again, going back to, you kind of have to present them with your ideas and your solutions. But yeah.
So what is your bottom line best advice for anyone planning to juggle grad school and high performance rowing?
That's kind of a loaded question.
Yes.
I think what I've found to be the most important thing is just, besides the obvious, like show up and work hard in everything you're doing, is, figuring out clear lines of communication with everyone that's supporting you across, from the academic side through to the rowing side. I found later on in grad school that it was much easier to balance the training that I wanted to be doing when I was, able to try to make the school people at least understand what I was doing. The more you can ask for help and the more that you can tell people and kind of, expose them to your story and what you're trying to do, the more people are willing to sort of step up and help you out.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for your time, Katy. And
thank you.
Have a great day.